Hello everyone, Don here again with a little progress report on my war Corsair. My last video, I was down here last week, I believe Monday, Tuesday, and I was doing the condition inspection. I want to say thanks to Thomas Altruda, I believe is his handle. He mentioned doing a leak down test in the engine, and I completely forgot about it because this is an auto engine. I didn't even think about it. I was more concerned with the condition of all the flight controls on the plane, that everything, the gear and all that was sound. Nothing was vibrating loose on the motor. It never even dawned on me to do a compression check. So again, because it's an auto engine, it's not one of those things that you normally do unless you have a problem. So I do have a leak down tester. So I had to drag that out, and I was missing some fittings on it. I think my brother gave this to me. He found it somewhere in a pile of stuff, and so I've never used it before. This is the first time I've ever used it. So I had to get some new O-rings to put on the ends of the hose, and I also have, here's an adapter, a long reach adapter. So I found some O-rings to replace this one, and this screws on to the hose that's in the cylinder now. It has the same exact size O-ring, the same thread as that one, except for this is a long reach to go down into a narrow head. This is a long reach into the plug area, so, but I didn't need it. It worked just with the short one. Short thread. It's a short thread. It's shorter threads than this. It's probably got maybe only that amount of threads on it, and then the O-ring is up farther. So, and then it doesn't have this long body. It's the whole thing is as long as this. So I didn't need to use this piece. You do need an extension to get these plugs out. So what I did today is I come down to, this is today's Saturday, 19th, 20th, something like that, and I needed to change the oil too while I was at it. The oil's been in for over a year, even though it doesn't have many hours on it. I figured, well, I might as well go ahead and change the oil, seeing how I forgot about doing this. So I came down, took it outside, fired it up. I also did get my little 6-inch tail wheel, and I had to fix that and get it on there. Kind of a Chinesium wheel, and it seems more hard plastic. It is a tube tire, 6x2, and it can take up to 50 pounds. I filled it, I took it apart, put in some baby powder on the tube to make it so it doesn't pinch in there. And then I bought some, if you can see it, nylon lock nuts for them. They're a little 8mm 8x125, I believe. So I bought nylon lock nuts to bolt the halves together and put back together. And I brought it down here and put it on. I wanted to take it out and see how it sounds, because I expected it to be kind of noisy because the other one's a solid tire, and this thing is pretty hard plastic. Inside the tire, where I put the baby powder, it looks like a normal tire inside. But the only problem with this one is the rim is a little small. The tire is loose on there, and once it's all bolted together and with no air in it, you can spin the tire with the tube and all inside. You can spin the tire around the tube and the rim, and then it wiggles almost like 1/8 of an inch. So I aired it up and hoped that it would center it. Well, it didn't center it. When I put it on there and spun it, it wobbles. Let me see if I can kind of show you this. Pick it up enough right here. Yeah, I should be able to see it. So it wobbles, which I figured was not going to be good. Well, what do you expect for like 12 bucks? So there is one other tire on eBay that is a sawtooth tread, like a normal tread you'd find on a utility trailer or even a car trailer. It has that sawtooth pattern to it, and it looks to be a little better quality, maybe a little better rim too. I did change the bearings in that with the original wheel, 4-inch wheel that I had, and I put those bearings in here because they were a better quality bearing. Let's see if I can show you the bearings that came in this one. They're kind of them little chintzy stamped steel. Just have them right here. They are. These guys. You can see it's just there is a hardened seat inside of it, but the whole thing is just kind of rolled and stamped steel, and it sounds a little rough to begin with. So my original tire has the exact size bearings, but it's actual ball bearing with a rubber seal and everything on it, and it has a lip on it like this, so it's much better bearing. And they were the exact same size, is that wheel required. So I swapped them out, and then I also had to make a bushing inside, because once you tighten that whole thing down, it squeezes and side loads the bearings if you don't have a crush bushing in there. So I had to make that this morning. I bought a tube. It was 1.5 inches, and it needed to be 1 7/16. So that was easy enough to put in a lathe and trim down, put it together, brought it down, threw it on. So I took it outside to warm it up, to get the engine oil up temperature so I could change it today and change the oil filter. So I took it out, which is an absolute beautiful day today. Got a Piper taking off. I think it's flight school. The winds have been blowing from the north to west. Not bad. A lot of traffic. See, there's one there, taking off. So they've been coming and going all morning, or well, since I've been here. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon again. But I come down, warmed it up, took it out, run it around on the ramp a couple times, and I took it out just onto the taxiway because that's been recoated and it's the noisiest part of taxiing out to the runway. So I just ran it out there, run across it, and turn around, come right back in, and I can't hear a thing. Even with that hard plastic at 30 pounds of air pressure, it seemed dead quiet. I couldn't hear anything in my headset. Even if I took the headset off, I couldn't hear that, roaring through the fuselage. So it's a net positive. So anyway, after doing the oil change, I pulled all the plugs out, and these are Bosch spark plugs. And if you can see these things, every one of them looks just like this. They're absolutely perfect. All 4 of them. So I just finished up doing the compression check, and this is the last cylinder. This is one's on the back side, 1, 2, 3, so this is number 4. This is the front of the engine. This is the bell housing end. So I'm putting 80 pounds in. That's a little up above. Back it off here, get to under 80. The left gauge, this one, is your set gauge. So there's 80 pounds. 80 pounds-ish. And over here, just a tick above 78 pounds. So it's like 78.5. And all 4 of them, the other 3 were all 79. 79/80. I wrote them on the valve cover. 79/80. This one I wrote up here, 79/80. But this plug had some water around the outside. But again, the color of the plugs is absolutely perfect. It's running perfect. It's not lean. It's not sooty around the outside of the body. Out here where the grinding strap attaches. They're absolutely perfect. That's what's so beautiful about fuel injection. So again, this engine came out of, I think I put it on a post once. It was out of a 95 Subaru Legacy. It's a 2.2 liter single overhead cam, but it's 4 valve per cylinder. It's got rocker arms in there like a Y. One lobe pushes 2 valves, so intake and exhaust, 4 valves, 2 each. So, but every one of them, 79/80. This one's like 78.5. So that's great. Most of the time you got to watch out when you hook this thing up for the prop not to spin and catch you, which wasn't a problem. So luckily the airport has a air compressor over there. So I've been running this thing for the last half hour plugged in with a leak, and that compressor hasn't kicked on yet. So I'm not losing any compression on this thing at all. It's perfect. It shouldn't be, because the car only had 5,000 miles on it when the car was totaled when I bought this engine. So it's literally just broken in, and by the looks of that, and there's the fitting I was talking about. So these gauges, if you're not familiar with them, you got a regulator here where you set this pressure, and then you got this fitting in here that hooks to this body, and this little fitting has a restrictor valve in there, it's like a little brass screw with a tiny little hole, probably no more than 30 to 50 thousandths, and that restricts the airflow through here. So if you have a cylinder that's losing compression, losing pressure, this will bleed down faster than this can bleed it in, and then you'll see your differential. So you put in 80 and you see what the drop is. So you're allowed up to so many percent, but this thing here is insignificant, man. 1 psi and 80, so you're talking way under 1% loss of pressure. So what I'm going to do now is put the plugs back in it, hook it up, I'm going to leave the cowling off, take it outside, give it a run up. I did want to take it out and try it, but that tire's not going to work. I could throw the other one on and try it, but I think I'm just going to hold off on that. The winds are, like I said, they are a good crosswind. It's like 90 degrees right now blowing across, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to go ahead and I want to run it because some oil did leak onto this insulation material here. So it's going to smoke as soon as it heats up. So I'm just going to leave the cowl off, run it, and let that burn off. I had the engine was up to about 180 degrees, and the oil temperature had made it to 160. So I don't remember what weight oil I put in it, but I was looking in the manual for this engine in the car, and they give you recommendations on what weight oil to use for what temperature. And it says for high sustained power settings, you want to use somewhere in the 1030 to 1040. Most of these newer engines today, all do like 520. This one is a 90, so it's not as good as like that car. That car takes a 520, my Ford. But get this out of there so I don't forget it. So again, I'm not sure what I had in there, but I bought Quaker State Full Synthetic, which turns out to be one of the best oils out there now, from a guy that does oil testing online. He's an engineer. What's it called, Rat 540 or something like that. He's got a big blog on testing over 200, almost 300 brands of oil, types of oil in that. And this new Quaker State Full Synthetic stuff was right up there in his top 10 list. They've already changed the formula from, it was the best one they had, but then Quaker State, with their wisdom, changed the formula and it dropped it down in the category, but it's still ultimate protection. So, and that oil was still pretty clean. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these plugs in, get them plugged back in, pull it outside, fire it up, and see if I can burn off that oil before I close it up. And then I did, there was a guy in here on the airfield. His name is Fred. He's got a little red home-built experimental airplane, and it's a low-wing tail dragger, and he uses a 6-inch tail wheel. And he has a spare, so he gave me this one. See if I can use this one. A little 6x2, 4-ply load range. You can air this thing all the way up to 70 psi. Nice little scooter wheel is what it is, but the problem is that's a 10mm bolt, so it's like a 3/8 inch, 5/16, 3/8, but it's too small. The bearings are pretty small in diameter that I may not be able to find a bearing that would go to a 1/2 inch, but I can take that 1/2 inch bolt out of my tail wheel. Get on the other side. Sounds like the Life Flight helicopter going back out. It just came in. I can take the bolt out and make a bushing, press a bushing into that horn off of the rudder, the tail wheel horn there, and I can reduce it down, but being that this is only a single side, there's a good chance that you might end up bending the bolt if you land real hard. The tire can handle more weight than this thing puts out. With me in the plane and the wheel on the ground, it's only like 65-70 pounds of weight on there. But this is a nice little tire. I've seen these on eBay, but the picture you couldn't tell if they were all black. This one's been kind of machined. There's the helicopter. You can see them. Noisy thing. They look like they were plastic, so I didn't think about it, and then I did see that they were a much smaller bolt. He said it's actually 8mm, so yeah, it'd be 5/16, I believe. But I don't know if I can get a bearing to get a bigger bolt for it here, but I can put a bushing in there and try it. But just with that one, it was quiet. I mean, I couldn't hear anything. Usually with the hard wheel on there, when I'm taxiing just out here on this, I can hear the hum. But once I get on the actual taxiway on that more rough surface, it was loud. So I'm going to see what I can do with this. But it's a nice little wheel. Nice. Just that bearing. I may even potentially pop the bearings out and just put in a bronze bushing. Machine a bronze bushing and stick in there. So that's an option too. And then I can use that 1/2 inch bolt. I could possibly take the 1/2 inch bolt, drill it, and then drill a hole through the side, and then put a grease fitting in it. Use a grade 8 bolt, which that is. So, alright, I'm going to button this thing up, take it out, side, fire it up, see what happens. Check the oil again afterwards, because it supposed to use 4.8 quarts, and I got about that in there, and it always shows like it's too full, but I got to run it, get it through the system, and see what happens. But I think that's all I'm going to do today. Like I said, I would like to take it out, but that tail wheel was a problem. That's not going to work. And there is one more wheel on eBay that I found that's a nice little 6-inch. Like I said, it has that sawtooth, so I may or may not buy that. It depends on what I can do with this tire. I'll pop the bearings out, take a look at it, and see what I can do with it. Maybe I can just put some bushings in there and run it on the shaft and just oil it or grease it or something. Because that little tire is going to sing pretty good at 60 mile an hour. So, all right. If I don't come back, I will maybe after I put this all back together, maybe I'll put the other wheel on it. Maybe if I don't, I'm not sure if I want to take it back out or not with that wind. That windsock is just swinging around back out there. So it's like almost over 45, 90 degrees that thing's swinging. And sticking almost straight out, and that sock again is like 18 mile an hour. So, all right, if I do decide to do another video, unless I change that tire, I'll tack it on the end of this. Otherwise, if not, I'll end this thing now, and I may come back down tomorrow. It's going to be a nice day. It's going to be a nice day for the next few days. So maybe I'll come down more towards the evening hour, and hopefully the winds will calm down, and I can get in another run and see if I can get. I want to do several runs, get that tail up, and try to take it longer duration time down the runway with the tail up, and make sure I'm going to be able to control it and steer it fine. So last one was extremely promising, and I was really pleased with it. So now I'm just going to get this thing run up, let that burn off, button it back up, check everything over, button it up, and maybe I'll swap out that wheel to take that one home, because I might be able to tinker with it, but it may just be molded out of center too. So all right, folks, again, I appreciate taking time to watch my videos. As always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns, and I will answer them as they come in. And appreciate everyone leaving comments as it is. And again, thanks to Thomas for reminding me of this. I haven't signed off on the condition yet, so that's not a big deal yet. So as long as there isn't anything else I'm forgetting, I'm taking the oil filter home. I'm going to cut it open, check it out. I don't have an oil filter cutter, but I'll get it cut open. Trying to get it out of there was a pain. I didn't even think about bringing something to get it off, because it's tucked up in there, kind of a tight spot. And it was hot, of course, and then that's when the oil leaked all over. So, but I did have to find a chain wrench here that they use for oil filters, and I was able to get it off, but it cut a hole in the side of the filter when I was taking it out, so that's how it leaked all over the place. I'll have to make me a splash pan for the next time, so I can try to keep the oil off that stuff, so it's not going to burn smoke like hell when I fire it up. Alright, I'm going to button this thing up, probably change that wheel. It's not that hard to pop back off, and then pull her outside, run it up, button it up, check the oil, make sure it's topped off good, and put the cowling back on if the smoking quits, and then I'll go from there. So if I don't like I said, I may or may not put something on the end of this. I may just upload this one as is, and then I'll come back in tomorrow or something, and then do some more testing. It'll be ready to just pull out and test. Okay, everyone. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. So for now, this is Dino Don out.